Hi everyone, welcome to a new chapter of Partimento workshop, today with clausulas and the tonal system. Let's start. Opening and closing a musical sentence. After learning to greet saying hello, saying goodbye is probably the most important word at learning another language. As children, when we are learning to write, we learn that our names must start with the first letter in capitals, the same for the beginning of a sentence. We also learn that at the end of a sentence, we must write a little dot called period. Curiously, when that little dot is read, we also change the intonation of our voices. Music, being a language, also has these elements. Today, we'll see how to start and how to close a musical sentence in the major mode of the tonal system. The tonal system. To talk about the tonal system is like talking about the Homo sapiens. Scientists say that there used to be different species of humans. Similarly, in the medieval ages and the Renaissance predominated other music systems. Usually, we refer to the most important system as modality because it was based on modes. Of all the different modes that existed, there are two that evolved into what we call nowadays tonality. Those two modes are known as major mode and minor mode. The same way humans have maintained some characteristics or features of their ancestors, these two modes have retained certain features in their composition. Two features of the tonal system inherited from the modal system are 1. The way of opening a musical sentence, and 2. Some melodic cells used to create a sensation of termination or closing at the end of the musical sentences known as clausulas. The musical sentence, opening and clausulas. These two elements together, the opening of the sentence and the clausulas, are the two necessary minimum elements to create a musical sentence. We will proceed now to create a simple three-part musical sentence. These three parts are 1. The beginning of the sentence, which I often call opening, the nota penultima, and the nota finalis or ultima. To open a musical sentence, we have three notes as possibilities to start: the first, third, and fifth degrees of the scale. For example, in C major, those notes are C, E, and G. I call this first note the opening of the phrase. For the penultima, we have three notes as possibilities: the second, fifth, and seventh degrees of the scale. And the ultima, for now, we will use only the first degree of the scale, which we often know as the tonic. This gives as a result 9 different combinations. It's 9 because I'm not doing differentiation in the height of the notes. The combinations of the penultima and ultima are called clausulas. The clausula that goes from the second degree to the first is called tenor clausula or tenorizans. The clausula that goes from the fifth degree to the first is called bass clausula or bassizans, and the clausula that goes from the seventh to the first degree is called soprano clausula or cantizans. As I already mentioned, this combination of notes represent the most basic elements to create the most elementary musical phrase in the tonal system. The question now is, where do we find them in a piece? Where do we find these elements in the work of the masters? The opening will be found usually in the first beat of the first measure or beginning of an important section of the piece, and the clausulas will usually be the last two notes of a piece or important section of the piece. They can also be a few notes before the end if the piece has a round off, or some extra notes after the closing. As a mechanism for training, most of our exercises will be written in whole notes. Nevertheless, the opening and clausulas will be found in all sorts of metrics and rhythms. Now, when a piece doesn't start in the first beat of the measure, the first note of the piece will also follow the rules of the opening. Sometimes I call this a pre-opening. Like, let's see some examples. One of these cases is for Elise of Beethoven. We can see that the piece is in A minor, but he's beginning on E, which is the first degree of the scale. But when the harmony in the left hand comes in, both the right hand and the left hand begin in the first degree. And at the end of the piece, this is an important section. So Beethoven is closing in the first degree, both in the bass and in the right hand. And we can see how the second degree is the note that is approaching the ultima of this section. Thus, this would be a tenor clausula or tenorizans. Also in A minor, we have Scarlatti Sonata 61 in A minor, and we can see that the same rules are applied. In this case, the piece is do beginning in the first beat of the measure. Thus, we can see that both the bass and the highest note in the right hand are beginning in the first degree or tonic, and at the end, both the bass and the right hand are closing in the first degree, and to arrive to the first degree in the bass, we have a fifth degree. This is a basicans or bass clausula. On the other hand, in the right hand, we have a canticens. We can see the G sharp, which is the seventh degree of the A minor scale, moving to the first degree. The same case occurs in Bach's Prelude in C minor. The piece begins in the strong part of the beat, and both the right and the left hand are starting in the first degree. And right here we have, at the end, we can see that Bach is closing in the third degree, but actually that's what I call an extension or a round off. In Spanish, I call it a remate. But the real closing, like the most important closing, is the seventh degree that is going to the first degree a few notes before the end. And then we have a case of Mozart in the Rondo La Turca, where he's actually breaking the rules. He is not starting in any of the neither in the first, third, or fifth degree of the key. He's beginning in the seventh degree. He's starting with an appoggiatura, a non-harmonic tone, and we can see that immediately he continues with an A note in the right hand. But when this is an upbeat, or what I call a pre-opening, and we can see that then in the strong part of the beat, he's now following the rules. In the left hand, he's beginning with the first degree, while in the right hand, he's beginning with the third degree. Then he does a modulation to a brief modulation to close in E minor. Thus, the ending is going to be in A minor. So the ultima will be in E. And we can see that Mozart has an E both in the right and the left hand as the ultima, and in the penultima he actually has the three mentioned clausulas. In the right hand he has D sharp going to the E and an F sharp going to the E. These are a canticens and tenorizans, while in the bass we have a basicens, a fifth degree in the bass. Okay, so now that we have gone through the theory, I think we should practice these musical phrases on the instrument. If possible, practice them in different keys. These are the fundaments to create melodies in the tonal system, melodies that have an opening and also that have a sensation of closing. So for now, this is all. In the next chapter, we will continue working with these little phrases, but we're going to make them a bit, we're going to extend them using diminutions, and we will also learn the aesthetics of the melody. This means what elements make a good melody, how many skips, how much can I skip, how much should I move in stepwise motion. So please keep following me in the next chapter. And this is all for now. All best.